Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the City Council regular session for July 18th, 2022, 6 p.m. at the City Municipal Building. All rise, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brooke, can I please take roll call, please?
Mayor Hilson has been excused. Chief Woolen.
Here.
Street Superintendent Kirstenmore.
Here.
Clerk Treasurer Winters.
Here.
Alderpersons Cantu.
Here.
Grooms.
Here.
Hanson. Here. Heitman.
Here.
Klum.
Here.
Scott.
Here. I need a motion to approve or correct the meeting minutes for the regular session held on June 20th, 2022.
I'll make motion.
I'll second that.
I need to step back for just a second. Okay, in the absence of Mayor Hilson and as council president, I will retain my voting privileges and forgo veto powers as acting mayor. Okay, sorry, need to include that. Okay, we'll go back to the approval of the meeting. Any questions, concerns? All right, Brooke, would you take roll call, please?
Alderperson Grooms.
Here.
No.
Yes.
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 Hanson.
It's a roll call.
Yes.
Sorry.
Heitman.
Yes.
Klum.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Cantu.
Yes.
Okay. Petitions and communications. Okay. You see that there's a bunch of people here, okay? So, we're looking for citizen comment, pre-registered citizens for matters appearing on the agenda or other public comments. We have two people who asked to speak.
Yes.
Barbara,
I am Barbara Miroslav.
if you'd like to talk to us.
I have some documents to share with you. Am I allowed to give them to you? I was told I had to ask. Okay. Basically, it's information that I'll be referring to what I have to talk about. It's now a lot easier to see that. Sure. You get it too?
For the records.
Okay.
Yep.
Anybody else in copy?
Okay. You do have a time limit.
Excuse me?
You do have a time limit of 10 minutes.
10 minutes, you say? Thank you. I forgot to put my hearing aids in. Yeah, my name is Barbara Miroslav, and I sell at the Rome Flea Market, or the Adams Flea Market, and I've been selling there for 4 years. And I'd like to talk about what I've seen happening at the market and my observations and different things that I've seen. And I'm going to start at the beginning, before we really knew that the flea market had been sold. The first message we could receive from Jennifer and Max Murphy was on April 17th with information on this season's rent amounts. It was $15 a day for tables and $600 per year, or $50 per month for a 12 by 24 shed. There are other size sheds, but I'm only going to talk about the 12 by 24. Also included was a statement, we suggest you have liability insurance on your unit contents. The official letter announcing the sale of the flea market was dated May 9th, although we were aware of the sale before that time. On May 7th, those of us who had yearly rental agreements that expired at the beginning of May paid our yearly fee and were also presented with an estoppel agreement to sign, and that's the first document you'll see there, which was described as an informal rental disclosure to the prospective buyer, and that would be Eric Salinger. And it says, it does not change our verbal terms of our shed agreements, it is only a disclosure of how much you pay and when your payment is due. Many vendors signed this estoppel agreement, some refused. Sorry, I just lost my flag. That day, I also had a brief chat with Jennifer. She said that the new owner was considering raising the rent a bit on the tables, but not on the shed rentals. Shortly thereafter, we started to hear rumors of a substantial increase in shed rentals for people whose rent was due starting in June. The figure I heard cited was $120 a month, or $1,440 per year. At that time, I called Jennifer to request a copy of my signed estoppel agreement for my records. I was told that on May 7th, after the rents and signed agreements were collected, they were given to Mr. Salinger. I also told Jennifer about the dramatic rental increase. She said that she was shocked and disappointed by the new owners doing this, and that she had felt that he would be a good steward of the market when they agreed to sell to him. Also at the time, I heard discussion that the new owner had stated that the rate of $120 a month was in line with what was being charged in the area. However, this would be for rental of a storage unit, and we are a flea market. I called around for storage unit rates. In-town storage rents 12 by 24 units for $65 a month, and Delwood storage rents for 12 by 28 unit for $77.50 a month. At one point, he visited my shed and gave me a piece of paper requesting that I give him my tax ID, social security number, and driver's license information. The consensus was that he had no right to any of what was that information. However, I think that he may have confused tax ID with seller's ID, which he is entitled to receive. At some point, some of the vendors decided to leave, and I'm not sure of their reasons why, and I won't presume their motivations. Shortly after the sale of the market property, we had heard rumors that Mr. Salinger had requested to have market property zoning changed at the flea market, so it could be disbanded and the town, and converted to a storage facility. We had also heard that the town had refused this request because they recognized the value of the market to the community. Then we began to wonder if the exorbitant rents were a mechanism to drive people out who couldn't afford to pay. Less vendors would translate into less visitors to the market. Less visitors, in turn, would mean less revenue for the vendors. Eventually, there would be no vendors, and the market would be forced to close. Then there's the matter of the lease. I finally got to a copy yesterday, and frankly, I don't understand it at all. I really don't. The first paragraph tells you Mr. Salinger became the primary lien holder on the vendor's property from the moment the agreement was signed or the property is placed for sale in the shed. It appears that the owner of the property is not responsible for injuries anywhere on the property, and vendors need to carry liability insurance of $500,000 per person or $1 million per occurrence. Rent is due on the first of the month. Rent to office, and it's sent to the office in Roscoe, Illinois by the U.S. Postal Service. Heaven help you if you are late. The penalty for being late with your rent can be pretty severe, as outlined in the agreement. Some people who have had to sign the new agreements ask for a little time to have a chance to study and fully understand the lease, or to even consult with an attorney about questions they had. Mr. Salinger did not like the idea of consulting with an attorney and became threatening and abusive. Other people here today would be able to tell you about their individual experiences. If you didn't sign the lease, you were evicted with very little time to vacate the premises. So other people have recently left because of this. And then there's the matter of the porta potties. Originally there were 6 of them, with 55-gallon drums next to them for disposal of items that were not to be thrown into the porta potties. Then one day the garbage cans were flipped upside down, rendering them unusable. Then the garbage cans were removed completely. That meant that you were to either you are either forced to carry out your used waste and find a place to dispose of it, or throw it in the porta potty. I would suspect that the supplier of the toilets would not be happy with this and potentially refuse to supply them altogether. Shortly after the drums were removed, half of the porta potties were removed also. I know that there are a certain amount you need to have legally, but I don't know what that figure might be. I do know, however, that if that of them there was not sufficient for the 4th of July weekend. I called the health department to complain, so did others. I spoke with someone yesterday and said that they spoke with Mr. Salinger directly to share their concern. He supposedly said that 3 toilets were enough because they would be pumped out nightly. However, there were 6 toilets in place for the 4th of July weekend. Then 2 of them were removed right before this past weekend. Late Saturday afternoon, it was discovered that someone had a case of explosive diarrhea in the handicap toilet, and the toilet next to it was unusable because it was full. I called the manager, Marty, and left a message on his voicemail explaining the situation. The next day, I discovered that there were out-of-order signs placed on these toilets, and at that point, then, we were down to only 2 toilets. As a result, let's see, no, I gotta skip that. I feel that this is another way to drive customers away. Who wants to be forced to use a disgusting toilet? Not only is it nauseating, but it can potentially be a health hazard. And finally, there is the issue of disabled persons at the market. The new owner has stated the rules that he requires that rugs be outside put away when vendors aren't on site. He also states that frameworks and canopies need to be taken down when vendors aren't there. There's no way that these tasks can be handled twice a day on both Saturday and Sunday, as well as on extra day or 2 on holiday weekends by many of our disabled vendors. Also, there is the issue of walking a long distance to reach a toilet. The Americans with Disabilities Act states that it is required that the owner of a business needs to make reasonable accommodations for the disabled. This, I don't feel, has been addressed, and I will be filing a grievance this week regarding these matters. The vendors have done a great job spreading the word about what is happening at the market. Recently, a person posted on Facebook about being upset about the recent changes at the market and the possibility of it being shut down. There was a reply by one of the new managers at the market saying that that's a rumor and not true at all. The flea market is looking to collaborate with more nonprofit partners and hoping to bring in entertainment as well. There is work in progress for the positive changes that will be happening for next year. Frankly, if the market continues as it is now, I doubt that it will exist next year. And what I want to say is that we as vendors can complain all we want, and the people in town can complain all they want, and the visitors to the market can complain all they want, but we have no power. You have the power to change this. You have the ability to fix this, and I'm requesting that you give it a chance to take a chance and do that. And also, there was a person here who was too upset to talk. Do I still have time?
You're out.
Okay.
Can she just run
The other speaker was Barbara.
Barb.
You right?
Oh.
No,
I don't know what really say.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I am a vendor there, and I have 2 units. One thing that happened to me, because this guy is acting illegally, I paid the rent on the 1 unit. The other one isn't due until August. I paid the rent. He wouldn't accept the rent without the contract. I did a revision to the contract, and he sent me a notice on the 11th that I had to move the 15th. He sent me a bogus check, 2 addresses, no legible signature, and I still have the check. I went to go Saturday, a lock on the unit. And I paid the rent. I have the receipt for the rent. His manager said bring back the check and I'll open the unit. And I had the check there, and the answer, pay another $120 a month for when I just paid it. And this happened right after the 15th. I've had nothing but problems from him the whole time of July. He came to my house and harassed me at my house. And I didn't hear much of what she had to say, but you do have the power to change this. He's done so many wrong things. He takes the bathroom out, dumps garbage on the ground, refuses to provide garbage removal for the customers. And he commits duress to sign this contract. In this rental contract, I'd like to just read just a little bit of this contract. Let's see. 5C. Let's see, I'm so nervous. Pay his attorney fees related to any dispute or litigation under this lease. Default, fails to fulfill any of the covenants or agreements herein specified instead of for non-payment of rent. Use of storage space only for the storage of property. I did an addendum or revision on this contract. Let's see. Tenant shall keep the storage space in good condition and repair at sole cost to tenant. If you open up the door, you're supposed to pay for the emergency instead of let's see. Tenant, that's the same one as the next one. Responsible for repair. Insurance, $1 million insurance, $500 per person, or $500,000. Release of his liability for the active or passive acts or omissions or negligence of himself. Even if, and then the next one is bodily injury, even if such injury is caused by the active or passive acts or negligence of himself. And then, and the next one's the same thing. You forgive his negligence. And then the next one, right to enter without notice. Without notice to tenant. Next one, limiting hours, 1 lock per shed. And reserves the right to relocate tenant. Relocate your stuff. Now what happened, he put a lock on my stuff. He's actually stolen my stuff. I have paid the rent. Right here's the receipt. Right in here is the check. And this is what they did. They locked me out of my unit when I paid the month's rent. And you, under rules 60 and 60, 61 and 62 have the power to fix this. The ordinance, you shall promote the public health and safety and general welfare. Change is available through 3/4 of your vote today. or the veto power of the mayor. The zoning committee was required to give notice on a preliminary report and have a public hearing about this. They did not do that. The zoning committee with 5 or 6 members decided without hearing of any of us, my life is ruined. I don't know about these, but and they didn't do that. His conditional use, there's no reason for him to even have one. He's not taking care of the units that are there. He's taking everybody for a ride. That's what he's doing. And the substantial evidence standard, he didn't have it. He agreed to keep the front flea market, and he's not doing it. He's driving us all out of there. He kicked me. He locked my first unit. I was actually going to pay the rent for the second unit and move into one unit. And I'm moving out of the second unit, and what choice do I have? What choice do I have to get my stuff? He thinks he can just do this. He's acting illegally. He must not have the proper insurance. He doesn't sign any of his documents, and he's hiding behind an LLC. The flea market lost their name over $130 for him to use the address for an LLC, for him to have an LLC in Wisconsin. None of the community wants to lose this market. And other than that, that's quite a bit. He was at my house and harassed me, and I did not feel safe that whole day at my house, and I still don't. Just to give me a letter and then walked away abruptly and wouldn't listen to me, as I stated. By all rights, I have legal right to that unit till the end of this month. Whether it's my notice, which it's right in this contract, is we're supposed to give 31 days notice if we're moving, or his notice on the 11th. And it's not a 4-day notice. It's not legal what he's doing. The lock he's got on my unit is illegal. And then to try to charge me $120 a month and have his manager be as illegal as he is, because he's the one I paid to do it. And what's happening with him? He's using everybody. He's just using everybody. And he thinks he can come to this town and just take everything and sit back and be lazy and have his storage units. Then there was rumors he's going to have a low-income apartment stuff. He's not even operating an LLC properly. He doesn't even sign a document. He's been hiding his name as far as all this paperwork goes. And so I want you to do whatever it takes to get rid of this conditional use zoning. To be adamant about it, to tell them this has to be flea market. But that's not what all I want. All these people are victims. We're all victims. And the city, this is a family tradition. They're going to end up victims. I want you to take another step, because no one wants to listen to us individually. And this guy, he's a bad guy. He's a thug. And I want you to take the other step to contact the state.
Okay, I'd like to
You,
thank
as
you.
a council, to get this guy out of here.
I'd like to thank you for your comments. It's a 10-minute.
Thank you.
something to think about. It is private property, so we're kind of working off of private property. Maybe you need to look at possible lawyers, seeing if there's a way that you could break that contract or make it work for you.
How can we afford it if most of the people
I
at
know.
the flea market are elderly people that have been there since, hell, some of them the 60s.
And we have tried to find lawyers and nobody will take our case.
$1,500 a shed, come on,
We
we're on
don't-
social security.
We've done everything.
We don't have the money to fight this guy. I mean, I've been a flea market kid my whole life. I remember growing up going at that flea market. Okay, I remember most of these guys remember me as a little kid running around. Like, this is family. We may not be the biggest town and the best town, but
Okay.
this is family.
Okay, what we could do is we could have the mayor send a letter to the owner, and that's about what we can do right now. So, council,
Is there anything that can be done about his exorbitant prices that he's boosting these, the people that have the sheds? I mean, it's outrageous.
Yeah,
It's 140% increase.
I mean, that's called price gouging.
$1,500 a month, come on.
That is price
A year, I
gouging.
mean.
okay, I don't know what to say. What you can do is you can report it to people and say it isn't fair. Go to the state and complain.
What is this town gonna do if the market closes up?
I-
It doesn't
Yeah,
make no
what are you
sense.
gonna do?
Okay,
It just doesn't make no sense
40-year history down the drain?
for one man on the state.
okay,
$1,500, I can go get an apartment.
okay.
Fancy
I'd like to move on to report of the standing committees. Okay,
Let's go.
Let's go.
You're not gonna fight it, we can see that.
The Joint Review Board, the annual meeting was held on June
How
21st.
much have you been paid then?
Yeah,
you don't even do anything.
In the Adams County,
You must
Adams
be
Central
fired.
School District, Mid-State Technical College, and
If you can't stay orderly, you're gonna have to leave.
attendance.
I'm sorry.
In 2021, audit, annual audit report, TID number 2 and TID number 3 were reviewed. TID number 2 terminates August 15, 2022. The termination resolution adopted by council on May 16, and the final accounting submission date agreement were submitted and approved by the DOR. This is the last year on the tax rolls. Our auditors will file the TID number 2 final audit and an accounting report in 2023. The final audit will determine if there is any excess increment collected and determine the proportional shares to redistribute to the taxing district. The TID number 3 terminates September 20th, 2023, and the city will go through the same termination process. Okay. As far as the financial committee, we have 3 items that we need to deal with tonight, and they're on the docket, so we'll be going through those shortly. Okay. Report of city officers. Okay. We'll start out with the mayor. Okay. We would like to congratulate Bob Goodhue on his retirement.
Thank you.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Okay. Continuing, the VFW July 4th parade was again another success with the many participants. The sidewalks were filled with spectators throughout the whole route. Despite the weather, there was still a good turnout at the picnic. All right, coming up events. The community sidewalk days will be held on August 5th and 6th. There will be live music, a show and shine car show, farmers market, deals, and more. Another thing, the Adams Farmers Market is held every Wednesday from noon to 5 p.m. on Hazel Street. And the last thing, we would like to welcome Megan Martz, who started July 5th in the clerk's office. Okay, continuing on, Public Works, please.
So, just a few things, we finished up painting that we're gonna do for this year. Still borrowing Friendship's paint machine since ours doesn't work, but that works out fine. Been working with MSA engineering firm in regard to our PFAS on well 4. That's just a process that's still moving forward. Been watering the plants and trees since we don't get enough rain to sustain any of those, so that takes up quite a bit of time in the mornings. Mowing. Brush around the city still seems to be an issue. We probably have spent somewhere between 5 and 6 days in the last 2 weeks, and we're not even finished, because people are using the brush pickup as I'm gonna go clean out my entire property and pile that up for us. So it's something that I need to look at in the Public Works Department, is if it's actually how we can best spend our time. Technically, I believe it's for people who want to mow their yards, and there's branches that are falling and clean up like that, but we're spending a lot of time and money and equipment in doing that, providing that service now, and it's unfortunately other things are getting neglected because of it. I would be presenting Public Works Committee with some pictures and some of the things I've seen around the city. We did receive our new mower a couple weeks ago, so that has helped tremendously in being able to keep up. And lack of rain also helps that. I've been looking into a grant through the USDA in regards to funding for a new street sweeper. Ours is probably 30+ years old, and it's hemorrhaging money more than it's worth putting back into at this point. The county actually swept for us before the 4th, so the big projects coming up for us are going to be, besides the Daily South, is we are going to have to start doing meter changeouts. Folks should expect phone calls. Per the DNR, meters need to be replaced every 20 years, so to make sure they're functioning properly and accurately, accounting for all the water that's used. So depending on where you're on the list, we'll be calling and scheduling meter changeouts. I believe we have roughly 70 to do this year. So also we'll be looking at updating our camera system at Burt Morris Park a little more. I've gotten into recently, so a lot of basketball court has been a great draw to that park. It's been used daily, and just would like to please ask people to keep their pet waste picked up. Kids playing in ball fields, your animals are supposed to be leashed when in the park. There's signs as you enter the park. They shouldn't be running around the ball fields off leash, and if they do happen to please pick up the waste and take it with. I mean, I don't know how many calls I've gotten from Little League parents or Little League kids or Little League coaches that it's left on the ball fields, and it's just not called for. Otherwise, we're going to not allow pets in the park. I mean, also the bathrooms, if they continue to be vandalized at this rate, the discussion has been just shutting in and locking them unless you rent them out for an event. The amount of dirt and sinks and sand and toilet paper on the floors and is extremely disappointing. It's there for the public to use, not abuse. And I've got some pretty disturbing pictures of the things that we've had to deal with to clean that. And it's very disappointing for the community that that's what's happening. So please take care of those things so we can continue to use them. That's all I have, unless you have any questions.
What I'd like to do is move on to new business. Sam, do you have anything to report on the police?
Numbers for June.
Okay.
155 calls for service. We had 20 traffic citations, 7 municipal citations, 15 warnings, and 1 crash. We're still doing the bike helmet program, looking for kids that are out and about wearing helmets and trying to reward them with either it's a coupon for a slice of pizza or an ice cream. If people don't have helmets for their kids, that Health and Human Services still has a program that they're giving helmets out, so they can go over there and get a free helmet and then get free ice cream. 4th of July parade and picnic went well despite the weather. There was good attendance. We are to the point again that we can utilize the range, having the backstops back up and everything, so we can utilize the range again. There's still some things that we want to continue to work on there to get that to where it should be. And unfortunately, we did have an incident last Wednesday. I believe Wednesday, if I'm saying that right, the 13th, where we did have a pedestrian that was hit in the crosswalk on Main Street. So with that, I would like to remind people that with the 4 lanes, that when vehicles are stopped, not to be automatically assuming they're just stopping to turn or something and going around. That wasn't necessarily the specific case or the circumstances in this case, but we had somebody that sustained some significant injuries. And just want to caution people again about the crosswalks, the amount of pedestrian traffic we have during the summer and throughout the year for that matter, but that's a busy intersection, and just to use extra caution. Well, I don't have anything else unless anybody has any questions for me.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, moving on to new business. Number 1, refuse and recycling collection services. I need a motion to accept the county's 5-year carded with tippage contract.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Any comment? Okay. Brooke?
Alderperson Hanson,
Yes.
Heitman,
Yes.
Plum,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Cantu,
Yes.
Rooms.
Yes.
Okay. Number 2, hot water heater replacement in the municipal building. I need a motion to replace in kind the water heater in City Hall.
I'll make a motion to replace in kind the water heater at City Hall.
Second.
Okay. Brooke?
Alderperson Heitman,
Yes.
Plum,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Cantu,
Yes.
Grooms,
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Okay. Street use permit for north portion of 100 block of North Elm Street. I need a motion to, I think it's block off the road.
It's only like a portion.
It's only a little portion of the,
We make that motion, we approve the permit.
okay.
I'll second that.
Brooke?
Alderperson Plum,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Cantu,
Yes.
Grooms,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Heitman.
No.
Okay, continuing on. I need a motion for the issuance of a fermented malt beverage and intoxicating liquor license for Jack Pine Saloon and Highway 13 liquor and cheese.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Yeah, whose name is on it?
Question. Whose name is on it? Huh?
On the licenses,
Yeah.
it's under the Kendra LLC.
It's still the old owners as of right now, isn't it?
It's Kendra Enterprises LLC.
This is just so that they can sell the liquor.
Do you have something to say about that, Sam?
I'm guessing it is private.
I'm gonna go, I'll second it.
Can't clarify it.
Okay. Brooke?
Alderperson Scott,
Yes.
Cantu,
Abstain.
Grooms,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Heitman,
Yes.
Plum.
Yes. Okay. All right, I need a motion. This has to do with the sidewalk days. For the street closing on East Goggin Street from Main Street to the alleyway for August 4th, 5th, and 6th from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. at Ring's Tavern, by Ring's Tavern.
I'll make that motion to the street closing on East Goggin Street.
I'll second.
Okay.
Is that the one that wanted some barriers or something that they were asking for?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that something, Jason, is that something we can do?
We've done it in the past.
they did this last year.
I just wanted to make sure we
Yeah,
done all that.
okay. Brooke?
Alderperson Cantu,
Yes.
Grooms,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Heitman,
Yes.
Clum,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Okay, I need a motion to pay the bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Brooke?
1 second. Cantu, okay. Alderperson Grooms,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Heitman,
Yes.
Clum,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Cantu.
Yes.
Okay. I need a motion to adjourn from open session and immediately reconvene into closed session for the consideration, dismissal, demotion, licensing, or discipline of any public employee or persons licensed by a board or commission, or the investigation of charges against such person, or considering the grant or denial of tenure for a university faculty member, and the taking of formal action on any such matter, provided that the faculty member or other public employee or person licensed is given actual notice of any evidentiary hearing which may be held prior to take final action being taken, and of any meeting at which final action may be taken. The notice shall consist of a statement that the person has the right to demand that the evidentiary hearing or meeting to be held in open session. This paragraph, and paragraph F do not apply to any such evidentiary hearing or meeting where the employee or person licensed requested that an open session be held. Wisconsin Statute 19.851B, denial of operator license.
I'll make a motion to go from open session and reconvene into closed session.
I'll second it. Brooke?
Alderperson Hanson,
Yes.
Heitman,
Yes.
Clum,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Cantu,
Yes.
Grooms.
Yes.